All right, guys. Well, this is an interesting update by the way of DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. This gentleman, James Fishback, has offered a DOGE dividend, which basically is a $5,000 check. It's one per household, and it is just money that the government is saving, like what the Department of Government Efficiency is doing, to where they've saved apparently around $50 billion at this point. They've got a goal of 2 trillion. We're going to go through this, but Elon Musk responded to this tweet and said, I'm going to talk to President Trump about it. Obviously, for Trump, this would be something that would be, I'm sure, extremely intriguing, considering you're talking about the transparency of saving the money and then giving the money back to people. And this is different from the stimulus checks, which now we kind of know as the dreaded stimulus checks because of the amount of inflation they caused. That was them just printing money, giving it to people, and then it gets infused. It was a double whammy because you print the money and then it gets infused into the economy, which can drive up prices. This does have a small potential to cause short-term inflation because when you give people money, and technically this money already exists, it's just saving. That's why it's different from stimulus. Stimulus, they just made more money. They just printed more money. This, you're taking money that was previously being wasted in DEI programs, in paying foreign countries for aid, things like that, and it's just giving it back to the American taxpayer. And we're going to go through this. So it is different. And yes, if you do give people money, it could drive up prices just because there's going to be demand for certain things because they have more disposable income. But it's as long as the economy grows at a higher level than inflation, you're going to be fine. And it should, considering this is money that's going to be infused into the economy because people now are going to have some extra money to spend if this does end up happening. And again, this would be pretty crazy when you think about it. The idea, I mean, they're saying they're going to save around $2 trillion. I don't know about that one. If they do end up doing it, my question would be, it seemed like Trump was going to opt for eliminating the state income taxes, which right now the revenue is around $2 trillion. So if you can save that, you can just completely eliminate it. And then you can also work on potentially paying down the debt as well. But this is something entirely different. So let's go through this. Let's read what this is, the case for a DOGE dividend. And you can see how the DOGE dividend would work. DOGE is targeting $2 trillion in total savings. Take 20% of DOGE's total saving, which would be $400 billion, and return it to the 79 million U.S. tax households that will be net payers of federal income tax in the year of 2025 as a tax refund check called the DOGE dividend. $400 billion in DOGE-driven savings divided by 79 million tax-paying households, $5,000 DOGE dividend check per tax-paying household. That's where they get that from. So they're talking about if they save $2 trillion, $400 billion would go back to the taxpayer as like a refund, basically, for the government waste. And the idea would be that that's only 20%. So the other amount of that money, what would it be? 1.6 trillion would be utilized in paying down the deficit and potentially other things, putting the money into better places. You've also got Trump potentially targeting, we don't know if he would ever consider doing this. He's hinted at it if other countries agree, the other major adversaries, China and Russia, but potentially scaling down the military budget, maybe just slightly. Because the military budget, it's a love-hate thing. You want to have a massive military, you're able to flex that. That's why we can flex ourselves over Canada and really not care what they say. It's a very important thing to have. There's no doubt about it. But it's like to the point where we're spending so much more. Like, I mean, I'm sure you guys know how much we spend on military. And you could say, well, that's, we like mug other countries. It's nice. But when you're talking about saving it and creating a better just way of life for the people in your own country, maybe that's worth a little bit of a trade-off in terms of military. And Trump's a businessman. He knows, like, if we're going to do this, we're not going to be stupid. We're not just going to tone down our military and then have China take over. There would have to be some type of agreement, which I don't think would really ever happen. It's just hard to imagine those other countries looking at the United States military budget and saying, oh yeah, we'll also tone down ours as well, because you guys are like 10 times higher than us and you're going to tone it down, and you're going to you bring down the funding a little bit. It just doesn't make a ton of sense. But what they're saying is it's only 400 billion if they can save the 2 trillion. I mean, that's the key thing. I mean, if they save 2 trillion, they could eliminate income taxes. But would this be better in terms of giving households $5,000 as money, which again, you are talking about some potential short-term inflation, although it's not anywhere close to the stimulus idea. And this explains it well. You can see the benefits. They're talking about doing right by the taxpayer, with so many people not trusting where tax money is going. That's part of the whole DOGE initiative, boosting tax morale and incentivizing 2025 labor force participation. You've got that as well. And then wouldn't it cause inflation? They say no for two important reasons. DOGE dividend checks are exclusively funded with DOGE-driven savings, unlike COVID stimulus checks. Right. So basically the COVID stimulus checks, it was, they created more money and then gave that money to people, which is, it's a double whammy because it's disposable income being influxed into the U.S. population, which is going to potentially drive up prices. And it's the worst case of it is the number one thing that causes inflation is just printing more money. So it's the double whammy. With this, yes, you're going to have more disposable income, but it's from money that's already in existence. It's not from newly created money. So that's the difference there. You can see the DOGE dividend checks are sent to only tax-paying households who have demonstrated propensity to save, not spend. Well, I wonder what that means. I thought it was going to every tax-paying household. But either way, listen, this will be interesting to see if Trump ends up doing something like this. We've heard him talk about just eliminating the income taxes in favor of tariffs. The idea would be to use tariff money if they can tariff enough countries, and based off of the United States and how powerful we are and how valuable our companies are, other countries rely on U.S. companies paying for material so that they can use it. But if those get tariffs, they're still probably still going to pay, and that's how the United States can make money significantly off of tariffs. Trump has already talked about tariffs against a number of countries, and so we'll see if that ends up happening. You've got a number of different things here. Like when you're the United States, you have all these different avenues to potentially work with in terms of making money just through power, just with proxy, because of how powerful we are and the amount of extremely wealthy companies that reside in the US. And so I think Trump is trying to utilize all of that and kind of manipulate the situation to help taxpayers. And so this would be a kind of a different thing to where it's like, wow, you're talking about giving households $5,000 in government savings. I mean, that's pretty crazy. And you want to talk about the approval rating, it's like flexing there. They're talking about 2025 as well. I don't know how quickly they'd be able to do this and get it working, but this is the administration just thinking outside of the box. This is, not even the administration. This is someone from the outside talking about it. And then you do have Elon Musk saying he'll check with the president on whether or not to do this. There were people saying, well, and again, you're talking about short-term inflation. If you give people money that can be spent, why not just put this against the deficit? That's something you could argue, but again, it's not the total amount of savings, and this is incumbent on them being able to slash $2 trillion. If they're able to do it, that's DOGE's goal. And you can see that on their website. You can see it on Polymarket. They're trying to get to $2 trillion. They're at like 50 or 55 billion right now, whatever it is the last time I saw. But this would be pretty crazy if it ended up happening. And there's, I think, a lot more positives than negatives, but you could argue, why do this? Why not just put this money towards eliminating the overall state income tax? And that's something for Trump to discuss, but this is kind of a badass thing. It's like just giving $5,000 back through saving and through the government waste that we have all seen, and it's all right there. The new liberal argument is, oh, they're not showing any of it. No, it's all there. This is what it is. You guys wanted the DEI programs. You got the DEI programs. Guess what? When you pay for DEI crap in Zimbabwe, it's going to cost money, and we're cutting it all. And so this is where it's going. And they're also cutting all these government jobs. You don't have to pay salaries to these people. That's saving a ton of money as well. That's what it accounts for. So all of this goes together, and we'll see if this happens. So if you're looking to get this potential $5,000 in savings, I mean, listen, we all pay certainly a lot in taxes, and $5,000 almost like is the tax rebate, I guess. It's something interesting when you're talking about per household, and we'll have to see if there's any stipulations within that in terms of, look, We don't need handouts or anything like that. That's the other thing. It's like, well, I mean, some people do need help. I will say some people do need help, but I understand people saying, no, this should go to the deficit. But technically, if they are going to save $2 trillion, it is only 400 million. We'll see if Trump ends up doing this. This is like really good for his approval rating if he does it. That's what I'll say about it. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.